field toward the corner of Dell. Onto the track near the wall, leaps up and got it. Makes the catch for out number 3. Olsen. On it goes. Which is hit out towards center field. That's smoke. That is going to be into the bushes. A 2-run home run for McCutcheon. And the Phillies take a 2-0 lead.
Here's another 3-2 going again as Soto hits one high in the air, right center field. Brinson near the wall, leaps, and he makes the catch! Lewis Brinson makes an unbelievable catch over the wall in center field.
All right, everybody. Welcome into this very special edition of the Belly Up Fantasy Live Baseball Show. We are previewing the World Series right here. And joining me as he has the entire baseball season, we've got Vince. And so how we doing, Vince?
I'm doing great, man. Excited for this World Series to get going.
Okay, so there's excitement in the air. And of course, we're also joined by Belly Up's own Graham Wallace. He is the Toronto Blue Jays beat writer and the expert of all things baseball. So thanks for joining us, Graham. How are you doing tonight?
You're very kind, Kevin. Doing well. Happy to talk baseball with you guys.
Okay, so, with football and basketball and everything else going on, baseball is still happening. And we've got to the ultimate stage. We're at the World Series now. And, of course, that starts tomorrow. And we have the Atlanta Braves taking on the Houston Astros. And I don't mind saying that the Atlanta Braves were not a team I had in the World Series. And so, in fact, I had the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the Giants in the World Series. So that just goes to show I probably don't know what I'm talking about at all. So
that was my pick too, Kevin.
Okay.
I don't know if that's what I wanted to see or what, but we were both quite wrong on that.
Okay, because I'm a Dodger guy. That's my stance. It always has been. So it pained me greatly to predict the Giants were going to get there. Of course, they didn't. And so we've got Atlanta, we've got Houston, and so Vince.
Yeah.
What is your reaction? Because we're all surprised about the Braves. What do you say is the main reason why they're where they are?
I think it's been such a team effort. I think that so many teams depend on superstar ability and superstar talent, and the Braves lost there's not all of it, most of their superstar talent, and they were forced to actually play focused as a unit. How can we as a unit succeed and get to the World Series? And they were able to do it. I mean, they had pitchers hurt, they had fielders hurt, batters, of course, hurt, and still they had people step up. The trades they made really paid off for them, and they toughed it out. They got hot at the right time. And they saved it all until the last month of the season, and then they got hot, and now here they sit. And I didn't see it coming. The Astros, I did. I predicted that a while back, but not the Braves.
So, because if you remember, Vince, we talked about how we thought the Phillies were going to win the NL East.
Yeah.
Of course, that did not happen. The Phillies fell completely apart down the stretch, and so they're not here. And so, Graham, what is your reaction to Atlanta getting this far?
I mean, it's a lot of what Vince said. I think it was a total team effort. They made a lot of really great moves at the trade deadline, which I thought was enough to separate themselves from the pack that was the fairly mediocre National League East. It turns out it was much more than that. And I think a lot of those different players got hot at different times. We saw Soler, I should say, get real hot over the last few weeks of the season. We've seen Peterson get real hot at different times as well. And now it's Rosario, who is just red hot, smoking hot in that CS series. So all three of those guys were players that they acquired. So obviously a tip of the cap has to go to Alex Anthopoulos as well. Jays fans will remember him. He got them very close to the World Series as well. So, it's not surprising to see him have success again. And then I should also give a little bit of credit to the bullpen, especially Matzik. He's been tremendous down the stretch for them, striking out a bunch of Dodgers at the end of that series. So definitely a team effort for them getting to this point.
There's one guy that neither of you mentioned, And this is the guy who led the National League in runs batted in. Does everybody know who that is?
Is it Adam Duval?
Adam Duval is the correct answer. He led the National League in RBIs, and he also hit 38 home runs. And so, he was big coming down the stretch. He's not so big in the playoffs. I've got his average over here, but he showed out on the stretch. Of course, the entire team showed out. And so these guys that we mentioned were all brought in at the trade deadline. And so we all thought when Acuna went down, okay, well, Braves, see you next year. But they really made some very underwire moves that paid off every single one of them. Yeah. And so I'm going to go ahead. The Braves, they're here. They deserve to be here. They got fortunate because the Dodgers, they weren't healthy. And, Clayton Kershaw never pitched. And they had Max Muncy, never batted. And Turner, third base, was hurt. But that's just, I'm not going to put excuses out there.
All right, that's what I was going to.
They beat those guys, and they beat them with their pitching because every time the Dodgers came up with runners on base, they left them standing right there. And that last game was a prime example. They had runners on second and third, nobody out, down by 2, strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. And that was the end.
Yeah,
so
even with
really showed up big in that series.
Yeah, even with the Dodgers' injuries, they were still more talented as far as individual talent, I thought, than Atlanta was. Atlanta has went to this 3-man rotation in the postseason, and it has worked for them. And they'll do like one game with the bullpen. And they've been able to survive that so far. And, Houston might have the least talented starting pitcher rotation that the Braves have faced so far in the postseason. And but the question is, can Houston play better than the Dodgers and the Brewers did?
So, we don't want to spend all our time just talking about Atlanta because the Astros, in fact, are there. And I just want to say right out of the gate, because a lot of people have heard this, that they're cheater central and everything else and da-da-da-da-da-da. And I'm no way am I an Astros guy, even though I've been to Astro games, plenty of them. But Can we please leave the cheater stuff behind now? They had a great season. They were able to battle through. If you watch them when they played the Dodgers, and what was it, late July, I think it was, or August, they got booed out of that stadium. And that happened to them every night. They were on the road. But they played through that, and they're here. So I don't want to hear any more about this cheater stuff. So
I think we could put it to bed. I mean, we might not like them, but you do kind of have to give them credit for getting to 5 championship series in a row and 3 World Series in the last 5 years. Now, did they use means beyond the realm of fairness or whatever in the first couple? Maybe they did, but I think they're reveling in their kind of role as villains or us against the world.
They definitely, Graham, they definitely grabbed onto that. We're the villains. It's us against the world, and that's fine. We're going to take down the Dudley Do-Rights of the world, whatever. And that's exactly pretty much they embrace that role. And I think that Dusty Baker was the perfect manager for them to get them to where they are. And so,
we need to we can all get past the Houston cheater thing. We should. But the Braves fans, they still have a series left. They need to be banging trash cans.
They're going to add their little 2 cents into it. That's fine. If I was, if they were playing the Dodgers in the World Series, you would expect the exact same situation. And so, Graham, what are we to make of the Astros in the World Series?
Well, I think they earned it this time. They had a terrific World Series regular season, I should say. They got to the World Series. Vince has been saying that he's been pounding that drum for about 3 months now that they're the best team in the American League. They proved to be that. I thought the Rays would show a bit more fight against the Red Sox than they ended up doing, but they've got a terrific lineup. Yeah, their starting pitching may not look like it may not be star-studded beyond Zach Greinke, who's actually done very little for them as of late. But Framber Valdez has been a bit of a breakout player for them. Luis Garcia is expected to start game 2. It's a very deep lineup. You have guys like Yuli Gurriel, who's probably going to get some pitches to see, and the guy could hit it a ton. Kyle Tucker's been a breakout player for them as well. Chas McCormick is a really good defensive outfielder as well, who got some power in his bat. So I think the depth of their lineup is a big reason why they're here, but an underrated facet could be their bullpen led by Ryan Presley.
So Vince, what's your reaction to the Astros?
So a couple things. First of all, I thought of this yesterday. I was on FN Sports with Parker Ainsworth, and he asked, because he's an Astros fan and a homer, and he asked kind of how we will.
Same thing with me, Vince, when I was on his show as well. So
he asked how we look at it down the road. How will we look at these Astros teams? Because they have been successful, even not just during the cheating times, but they've been successful. And I've not heard anybody else say this. Maybe they have, but I compared them to Barry Bonds. I think we look back at Barry Bonds and we go, he was a phenomenal player. He was great. He was talented. All these things. Yes, he did cheat at some point in his career, and that helped him to advance in some ways. But we don't take away from Barry Bonds how great of a player he was. And I think this Astros team is like that. We're going to look back, 10, 20 years from now, and you're always going to remember. I used the term stank. They got a stank on them because they're dirty. They cheated. But this team this year, as far as we know, and we assume, they didn't cheat. And so this team, if they win, they're going to get the credit for winning long term. There are going to be plenty of people, Chicago fans, Boston fans, who are going to poo-poo all over it. But at the end of the day, the Astros, they've had a great season this year, and they've succeeded, and they've done it clean. And so we'll look back on it, and we will give them credit for a win this year if they do win. It won't erase what they did in previous years, but I also don't think what they did before is going to erase what they're doing this year. And if they win, I think they'll get full credit for it. And I think that, like I said, the roster is super talented. The lineup is really good. The pitching hasn't been as good in the postseason as it was in the regular season, but it's been good enough for them to advance, of course, as well. And you talk about the Braves getting lucky with some teams they played not doing well. The Brewers weren't hitting well. The Dodgers were injured. I mean, I think you look at this American League and you go, boy, the Red Sox, yeah, they had a good record. They surprised everybody this year for the most part. They weren't a top-tier team in a normal year, at least. The Rays, you give them some respect because they're able to do it pretty consistently here lately, especially kind of be at the top. But nobody was scared of the Rays. And I think you come down to it, the Astros, in my opinion, were the clear best team. But they still had to win games, and they were able to do it. And they're here, and I think they, just like the Braves, deserve to be here.
I absolutely agree with that, Vince. And, one of the things that I kind of had a unique take on the whole cheating thing, because so they were banging trash cans, right? What about the catcher that was standing right next to them? You're telling me that the catcher didn't hear the trash cans being banged, right? And so they didn't say anything, I think, because every team is cheating in some form or fashion. And so if that guy, the catcher back there, all he had to do was turn around to the umpire and say, umpire, what is this? But nobody ever did that.
Just like they did with the spider tack this year, right? Somebody spoke up and said, hey, something's off.
Right. But my point is that the whole thing unraveled because an Astro, a former Astro, spilled the beans.
Mike Fiers.
That's correct. And so if it had been another team that had spilled the beans, the Astros could have turned right around and said, well, this team did this, and this team did this, and this team did this, and this team did this. And that never happened. And so I think all the teams are, baseball is a cheating sport. It really is. And so you're just trying to figure out how are you going to be able to do something and not get caught.
I like conspiracy, Kev. I like this.
So, because that's my point, though. The catcher is 5 feet away from the hitter. He can certainly hear it. The umpire behind him.
I never thought of that before, Kevin. Yeah, you're right. And I definitely researched a lot into that. I mean, that the Astro Ball, the book by Ben Ryder, it goes all into the ins and outs of the different thing. It's a great read if you haven't checked it out. He also had a podcast about it a little bit after. It goes into a lot of detail, and I never really thought of that. And it's really quite obvious So maybe you're right, but I think it rubs people the wrong way because they did get to the ultimate prize,
Right. So
and they did get caught, and a lot of people weren't happy with the lack of punishment. But we've moved past it, and we're a few years past it.
that's what I'm saying. We need to
Yeah.
move past that.
No
Baseball fans need to move past that. And we just have to recognize that the Astros are a quality baseball team.
Two things. Number one, Richard Petty said, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So you look at it in every sport, at every level, there are people who are bending the rules to succeed, to get ahead of people. They're doing it in every sport. That being said, had the Astros beaten, you name it, the Pirates in the World Series, nobody would have cared. Had they beaten the Reds, nobody would have cared. But when you beat the major teams, the major brands of baseball, that's where it becomes more of a story than what it would have been. And that's how it is in life, right? It depends on who you are and how much attention it gets. And at the end of the day, they cheated with steroids back in the day before it was technically whatever. But, I mean, you go way back, right? To the 20s they were cheating. It's just a matter of not getting caught or not letting other people get upset that you're so far ahead of them that they're trying to catch up.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Graham.
Well, I was going to say I think the whole you're not cheating. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. That's more putting pressure on the umpire, referee, whatever sport it is. Oh, maybe grab a hold of his jersey in football and hope he doesn't do it, or maybe do it 6 times and maybe he'll only call it twice.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you're actually using technology to gain an advantage on the opponent, similar to Spygate, it does cross a bit of a line. And I'm going to disagree with you a little bit here, Vince, with the small market thing. I'm a guy who likes to root for teams like the Pirates and the Royals and the Rays and stuff like that, because they have to maximize their resources. They have to hit their draft picks. They have to get their free agent signings, and they can't dole out the dollars the Yankees and Red Sox can. So I think if it was against a team like the Pirates or the Brewers, it would hurt even more because it would be like a David against the Goliath, and then David's about to go down. Or wait, I'm getting my Bible verses mixed up. The big guy's about to go down, Goliath, but then he picks out a sickle and destroys David right when he's about to throw the stone. It just seems like they're already the big evil empire, and then you're cheating on top of that. So I think that would leave at least me with an even worse taste in my mouth.
I hear what you're saying, Graham. I think the only thing that I would counter that with is I think people would compliment the small market team in that situation. And see, they were so scared of you, they had to cheat, as opposed to looking at it as the Dodgers were supposed to win and you cheated. They're angry, and they still would have been angry. Don't get me wrong. But I don't know. I just think that it's still wrong. It would still get punished, all those sorts of things. I just think it would be a completely different storyline and headline. And I think it would have blown over faster than it has to this point.
That's probably fair.
I agree with that, Vince. And I think that the reason why it didn't blow over was because there was no punishment on the players themselves. They all walked away scot-free, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that rubs a lot of people the wrong way. It did me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
true baseball fans will know that it happens. And, you look at Bregman's last couple of years, they're not nearly as productive they were, before 2019. So, I mean, is that why? I'm not sure, but his production has gone down. So,
and Kevin, the baseball purists have proven that the punishment will come. It'll come in the Hall of Fame voting. There will be guys that will be left off that will not get votes for the Hall of Fame for the first year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. They're not going to get the votes to get in. You got just like they're doing with the steroid guys, guys that, in my opinion, are clearly Hall of Famers. They're getting left off. They're not getting voted in because they're getting punished now. And it might take a while, but eventually I think you're going to see these players get punished, because I think the Hall of Fame voters, unless we just get a whole different generation of people who, for whatever reason, overlook things, I think that that old Hall of Fame ballot is going to be where the punishment comes for the players.
Well, that's the difference. Right there. Between Barry Bonds and the Houston Astros. Barry Bonds is very likely not going to get into the Hall of Fame, whereas the Houston Astros have been awarded the World Series. They're not taking it away. They will go down in history. But I don't know about you guys, but Barry Bonds is probably the best baseball player I've ever seen. And he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates long before he gained, all this muscle and hit 800 home runs or whatever it was. So he was a mesmerizing baseball player long before that.
So, you know, I'm fine with Barry Bonds because the main reason, because the Angels beat him in the 2002 World Series. So, you know, I'm cool with him. So
we were just talking about that. That was a great series.
it absolutely was. And I was in California when that was all going on. So, you know, that was a great World Series. But
Yes.
here we are at 2021. We've got the Astros, we got the Braves. So, Graham, if you had to pick one player as the X factor on each team, who would that player be?
Okay, for the Braves, I'm going to say Freddy Freeman. The Braves go as he goes. He did cool off a little bit in the championship series, but he did have a couple of big hits as well. I think he heats up again. And if that happens, I really like Atlanta's chances to win this series. In the National League, I'm going to go a little bit off the board here. I'm going to say Chas McCormick. He's going to be a guy who's going to be able to see a lot of pitches because a lot of the guys that are around him in the lineup. Also look for him to make a big catch or two in the outfield.
So, Vince, who is your X factor?
I'd say in Houston, it's going to be Jose Altuve. He's not been hitting well in the postseason. And this is kind of the stage where you have to step up and play your best baseball. And so I'd say that he's the guy I look for in Houston. When it comes to Atlanta, I'm kind of looking at the guys that are maybe a little unsung. And I'm going to go with Dansby Swanson. He kind of has that Craig Counsell feel to it, you know, where he's not been what he was hyped up to be a few years ago. But now you put him on the stage where everybody's looking at, and he's going to get some opportunities because they might be pitching around some people and different things like that. He could be the guy that comes up big, and he's a good defender overall. And I think his bat, if it comes alive at the right time. So those are the two guys I'm looking at, middle infielders, but Altuve and Swanson. How about you, Kev?
All right. So I'll agree with you about Altuve. And let's see, I've got him here. Jose Altuve is only batting 200 in the playoffs right now. And so if he hits 200 in the World Series, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And it really is. And for the Braves, I'm going to go with the pitcher, Max Fried, because
nice.
If you saw him against the Dodgers, he got fried. And so he's got to pitch.
I see what you did there.
Yeah,
nice one, Kev.
Okay, so but he was pretty good before that. It was just in that last game where the Dodgers just beat the ever living, you know, whatever you want to call it, out of him, and he's got to be way better than that. And so Max Fried, my guy for the Braves, and Jose Altuve, as we said, can't hit 200. He just can't do it. And for the Astros to have a chance. And one of the things that I think that's going to be key is who do the Astros bench when this shifts to Atlanta? They've got to bench one of their hitters. They got to. And who is that hitter going to be? So that gives, I think, the Braves a huge advantage at home. And so I think Braves can split in Houston. They've got a real shot at this.
Because Yordan
Sam, what do you
Alvarez
think?
will most likely be playing left field, right? Is that what you're saying?
I would think so. But like I said, they got to decide who it is they're going to bench. They really do.
It might be.
And it's a big hitter, whoever it is.
Brantley or
Brantley. Yeah.
The other thing is, you know, Alvarez is a below average defensive outfielder, guys. So that could come back to bite Houston. You know, the first couple games are going to be in Houston, I believe.
Yes, right. First two games are in Houston tomorrow and Wednesday, and then they take a day off Thursday, and then over the weekend they shift it to Atlanta. And so I think the first two games are going to be key. If Atlanta can win one of those games, they're in good shape. If they go home 0-2, I think they got an issue.
I definitely think they could at least split the first two games, and then they give themselves a really good chance to at least be up 3-2 heading back to Houston. Obviously, they'd have a chance to finish the series at Truist Park, but they'd have to win all three if they had the split in the first couple of games. But I think this is going to be a long series, at least 6 games, and possibly 7. I think it should be a real dandy.
So what do we think about the starting pitchers for tomorrow? We've got Framber Valdez going for Houston, and then we got Charlie Morton, who I think was there when they signed the Declaration of Independence. He's been around, And so, but he's a former Astro. So if there's somebody that knows how to pitch against him, maybe it's him. So what do we think about this game one matchup, Graham?
Yeah, I think I'd give a bit of an advantage to Atlanta. Charlie Morton, for me, is probably as good a big money pitcher as there is in Major League Baseball. I think what he did with the Houston Astros, and then also with the Tampa Bay Rays last couple of years. So, and he knows the team, like he said. Now that could come back to kind of bite him.
You can always argue who's got the advantage, the hitter or pitcher in that situation.
But I think he's a little bit better than Framber Valdez. But Valdez, like I said, he put together a really good season. It'll be interesting to see with the switch hitter Albies. I believe he's got more power from the right side, but he hits from a better average from the left side, so he'll have some right-handed opportunities against Valdez. I think this is interesting because if it goes to a game 7, that Morton's going to most likely get the ball. He might get it in game 4 as well. He could start 3 games in this series. So I'd give Atlanta a slight edge, but if Valdez has a strong performance, it wouldn't surprise me at all because he's been solid all season.
So Vince, how do you see that game 1 matchup going?
I hate it for the Braves that Morton's the game 1 starter. And I know it works out that way with rest and all those kinds of things. I think Ian Anderson's the guy that you want to have multiple times in the series pitching for you. But he's going to end up starting game 3 more than likely. And so you've got him maybe for an inning in game 7 if you make it there. But having Morton in game 1, he's been okay, not horrible, of course, in this postseason. But of the 3 main starters, he's got basically the highest ERAs, 0.01 below Max Fried. He's the only of the 3 pitchers that does not have a win recorded to him in the postseason as well. That doesn't mean that he didn't perform in a way that got his team a win, but that's something to look at as well. Charlie Morton, he's a savvy vet, right? So he should have some extra just to give you some wisdom to help out along the way and the knowledge of how to kind of slow the game down a little bit and put it in a good spot for his offense to do what they need to do as well. In game 1, I actually like the Braves pitching better than Valdez in Houston. I think in game 2, it shifts to Houston with Garcia. I think he's the better of the matchups there. But the depth of Houston's starters it's deeper than what Atlanta's is. Long term, I like Houston's pitchers better than Atlanta's. But in game 1, I like Morton better.
It's hard to argue with that. And so it's prediction time. Graham, we're going to start over with you.
Okay.
How do you see this World Series playing out?
Well, I'm kind of counting on it being a long series, like I said before. I do kind of think the Braves are a team of destiny. They a lot of people didn't even think they'd get to the championship series. They dethrone the Brewers. They eliminate the Dodgers. They're here. I feel like they think they've arrived. They've been knocking on the door the last few years. I'm going to go Braves in 7.
Braves in 7. So there you got it.
You got it.
So, Vince, how do you see it happening?
All right, I'm going to give you my prediction in just a second, but I'll say this first. I think if the Astros win it, it's in 5. If the Braves win it, it's in 6 or 7. I think the longer the series goes, the better the chances for the Braves. ESPN gave us these stats that Atlanta, their bullpen has pitched 49% of the innings in the postseason. Houston, their bullpen has pitched 57% of the innings as well. I look at both bullpens. They've both been very good for the most part here in the postseason. Houston's bullpen has been very good. For that reason, there's a few other numbers out there that kind of scare me off of this, but I think it's Houston in 5. And I just think they're the more talented team top to bottom. And in a 7-game series, the best team wins every single time. And so for that reason, I'll go Houston. Although I'll give you a number that scares me. This year, as the favorite, Houston is 65-76. They have a losing record when they're the favorite. And again, thanks to ESPN for those numbers. Atlanta, 37-13 as the underdog. So take that for what it is. I'm still going to go Houston in 5.
Wow.
Okay.
I got to say one thing here, Vince, that the best team does not always win in a 7-game series. I was a little kid and my heart was broken by the Cincinnati Reds. I was a big Oakland A's fan back then, Ricky Henderson and all those guys. and the Reds swept them in 1990. It was unbelievable. There's no way they were better, but they kicked their butt, and I was not happy.
So Vince, that's an interesting thing that you brought up about the bullpen. Is that what we see continuing in this World Series, where the starter goes 3-4 innings, and then the bullpen comes in, and we get like 8 pitchers in a game? Is that how we see things happening?
They would love for the starter to go 6-7 innings, but it's just not the way these teams are set up. And 100%. And you look at the ERAs in the postseason here for these teams and what they're doing in the bullpen. For the most part, all of Houston's bullpen is under 2, the ones that get the majority of the innings.
1.35, 1.35, 1.29, and that's not even including Presley.
Yeah.
And so
and Javier is that 0. Yeah.
Pitch out of the bullpen. There's no question about that. So
wow.
All right. So I have not given my prediction. So I think I agree with you, Vince. I think Houston is the better team. And but I'm concerned when this shifts to Atlanta, because I think Atlanta's got a huge home field advantage, and I think that if it's got to be, like they've got to have the advantage and bring it back to Houston, and so I think that Houston is going to win this in 6, and because they've got, we talked about the pitching. And a guy that we haven't mentioned yet is the guy that leads both teams in home runs and RBIs in the postseason. That's Kyle Tucker. He's got 4 home runs and 15 RBIs. And so, and he's a young player. Can he keep his, when the spotlight's on big, because these teams got some young players on them, Austin Riley being one of them. And so, which of their young players can keep their emotions under control? And I think that the Astros, because of Dusty Baker, have the better abilities to be able to do that. And so I think Houston, I'm going to go in 6.
It's funny you talk about Dusty Baker, and I agree with you. I think he is the emotional favorite of a lot of people. They really like Dusty Baker, respect Dusty Baker. They showed it somewhere today where he, started with the Atlanta Braves or played in a World Series with the Braves back in.
He did. I don't know if he was in the World Series, but he was on the Braves first. Then he played for the Dodgers for many years, of course, and won the World Series with the Dodgers.
Yeah, and now he's going to manage against the Braves. Maybe his first game was against the Astros, something crazy like that. And he played for the Braves, played against the Astros. Anyways, all that. But I grew up in the era of the Braves disappointing people in the World Series with Smoltz, Glavine.
You're right, Vince. We talk about the Braves. They've only won 1 World Series since
it's amazing.
That was in 1995.
But they're a great baseball
team. The World Series since '99.
Yeah,
when they went up there and the Yankees, summarily dismissed them with ease. And so, they're a team that won 100 games every year, but then they didn't even get to the World Series.
Yeah.
And that's and we're talking about recent history, because the Dodgers were beating them every single year. And so that they pushed their way through that, I give it up for the Braves.
This has been
give it up for the Braves, but you have to.
We've talked about it on the fantasy show. We've talked about it on my show. This has been the best Major League Baseball season we've had in a really long time. I think maybe even going back to the home run years, the Barry Bonds home run records, the McGuire Sosa home run records. Like, to me, this season it's been exciting from start to finish. You had teams that were playing well that people didn't expect to play well, teams that played horrible that everybody expected to be good. And you had superstars, but those superstars weren't even in the playoffs. And so you could enjoy the superstars and you could enjoy the team, small market, those kinds of things all at the same time. I think it's been a great season.
I agree with that 100%, Vince. And we just have to hope that we have a baseball season next year, because, because December 1st, the agreement is over.
Okay, so I didn't know where you were going. I didn't know where you were going with that. I thought, wait a second.
Yeah, because the agreement between the owners and the players is over on December 1st.
Yeah, that's a big deadline. Actually, I really
hope
they could hammer something out, because
if there was a sport where the the players and the owners distrusted each other more.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist because these, baseball, they hate each other. They can't agree that, should the National League have the DH or not. So
yeah, I think it's moving towards that way in the NFL, but it's already there in baseball, and we don't need another 1994. That was bad enough.
Yeah.
Especially Canadian baseball fans. Montreal had a great team at the time, so
they sure did.
Please, let's avoid that. We want more great baseball next season, please.
Yeah, we need more great baseball, and we need to have more Belly Up Fantasy Live baseball shows, and which we can't do if there's no baseball to talk about. So
you got it.
I'm a pretty good mediator, so I'm happy to help out any way I can.
There's my Twitter handle right there. You can, you shoot me a tweet. I'll be more than happy to help you out, baseball.
I guess I'll throw my name into that too. I'm sure that we're not the guys you're looking for, but hey,
that may not well be.
We
but,
will.
Because I think it's safe to say we're three guys that love baseball, and so I couldn't care less about owners. I couldn't care less about players. The game is the thing. So let's get us three in there. We'll get this straightened out. Maybe, we can, hang out at the hotel and, they can bring some food in and stuff, and we'll get this thing straight.
Sounds good to me.
We're very affordable.
Got to make this happen, man.
So anyways, to summarize, Graham, you have the Braves winning, right?
Yes.
Okay. And Vince, you have them winning in 5. The
Astros. Yeah.
I have the Astros winning in 6 games. So there we have it. And so, Vince, that you've got a lot of stuff going on out there. So tell us what you do have happening.
All right. Follow me on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Sports Stove. We've got a live show that goes every Thursday. That might have to not be live at some point with my kids' basketball season getting ready to start. But we're live Thursday at 8 o'clock Eastern time. We talk all major sports. And then we've got a Wednesday episode. It drops podcast-only version. And that is the local hour where we cover EKU, Eastern Kentucky University Athletics. We've got a player or coach on every single week to talk with us. And this week we've got the team's leading interceptor. I don't know if that's the right word. He leads the teams in interceptions for EKU. He'll be on with us, Joseph Sales, on Wednesday. And I think next week we've got the commissioner of the ASUN Conference joining us, Ted Gumbard, as well. So lots of stuff happening. I've now joined the ranks of Kevin Wilson. I write and Graham. And write with bellyupsports.com. So I do a lot of EKU stuff, but I'm actually starting to branch out. Just did an article about LSU firing the wrong coach this last week.
Yep. That, Vince, you brought the power on.
I hate Will Wade, and let it be known in that article.
Obvious, so. Vince. So let me just say that.
That's me. That's where I am.
All well and good.
Okay.
So
you made your point.
So, Graham, what do you have going on about now?
Well, I've been also writing for Jay's Journal as of late. I've been taking a look back at I'm actually putting together a bit of a series on the best 25-man roster of all time. So you can find that at jaysjournal.com. I just came out with part 1, which is the rotation a few days ago. So the lineup is the toughest part. I'm kind of making my way through that. Expected that to come out in the next few days. I'm also going to be writing a companion article kind of with this conversation embedded in there, just kind of a World Series preview. I'm going to be having a bit of a breakdown of my Blue Jays selection with my friend Alan Cosman, who does a lot of the graphic design work with a lot of my articles. And I'm doing power rankings, NFL power rankings Wednesday night, Man Hour Radio, 8 o'clock. So I usually come on about 8:30. So that's been a lot of fun as well. You can follow me on Twitter at Bus Wallace, on Instagram as well. Same handle, just lowercase letters. So a lot of stuff going on, even though baseball is wrapping up.
Yep. Because like I said, this is the best time of year for sports to me, because you got World Series, you got NFL, you got college football, you got the NBA, you got the NHL. What more could you ask for?
It's the best
in sports. And so that leads right into what I do is on Saturday mornings at 10 a.m. on the Colorcast Network. I have a show, the Wilson Weekend Sports Review, where I get out there and I review the best, what I say is the best the biggest sporting events that are going on the weekend, and that's at 10 a.m. Central Time in the morning. And so I do that, and of course I do an article a week for Belly Up, and you can always catch me on Twitter at Kevin62 WILSEA. And so catch us all. Get on there. Belly Up Sports has pumping out so much content. It's beyond belief. So get on there, follow Vince, follow Graham, follow me. We follow Parker, all these other people that are too numerous to mention. And so there are a lot of things going on out there. So let's finish up. Vince, any closing thought?
No, like I said, great. I just did what I always get mad at my dad for doing. You say closing thoughts, I say no, and then I start talking. Yes, I do have closing thoughts. A great baseball season, and I'm looking forward. I know I said Astros in 5. I would love for it to go 7 games. I think the World Series is the best postseason sporting event there is, and there's just a feel around every game. I mean, just turn on the television. Nighttime, the lights are on, the fans are kicking. You start hearing that Atlanta Braves tomahawk chop. That'll bring back so many memories. I just hope it's a good series. I would love a 7-game series, and nothing more fun than that. And I'm really looking forward to what's ahead.
All right, Graham, closing thoughts.
Yeah, I'm really I have a lot of faith that this is going to be a great series. There's something about years that end in 1. If you go back the last
about that many times,
several, I guess that I'm going back to that well again. But I have a lot of confidence that this will go at least 6 games. I'm kind of counting on a 7-game series, but just those magical moments when your hair's standing on the edge, you're on the edge of your seat, you got goosebumps, baby. You can't look away. That's what I'm looking forward to this late October baseball. That's just so special. Maybe some walk-off hits, something like that. So it should be a lot of fun. And no matter who wins, I'm looking for a great series.
Hey, Kevin, before you give your closing thoughts, I have a question for both of you. What is your favorite World Series memory?
Graham, you want to tackle that one?
I mean, for me, it's easy. It's Joe Carter's walk-off home run in the 1992 World Series. It was just incredible. Close second would be Jose Bautista's bat flip home run against the Texas Rangers in 2015 So it's a no-doubter for me.
Yeah, for me, it's just as simple as 1988 Dodgers, A's, and Kirk Gibson comes up to the plate. That is my all-time #1 sports moment ever.
Classic.
And and you had the whole thing. You had 2 Hall of Fame. If you're listening to it on the radio, you had a Hall of Fame broadcaster. If you're watching it on TV, you had a Hall of Fame broadcaster. And so, when he hit that thing and there's a high fly ball to right field and she is gone. Now, the NFL has never delivered a moment like that, or basketball or any other sport to me. So that is my #1, memory ever. So, Vince, what would you say yours is?
For me, it's a childhood memory. I had no horse in the race. Kirby Puckett with the big grab at the wall. That just stands out to me. Something I remember as a young kid who could care less about either of the teams that were playing, and just absolutely love that kind of stuff. That's the sports fan in me. I don't care who the teams are. I just want some great plays and some awesome moments and something that we can remember and something that me and my kids can watch and make memories with. And I think baseball is a great way to make memories with family. And I'm excited for it. Your closing thoughts, Kevin?
All right. So my closing thoughts is, none of us 3 think that it's going to go 7, but just like you guys have said, there's not a better 2 words in all of sports than Game 7.
I think I said it would go 7, didn't I?
Yeah.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry, Graham. I'm sorry. You said it goes 7. Okay. So,
that's okay. I said 6 or
so,
7, I think. So that's
okay.
fine.
So if it goes 7, it doesn't get any better than that. So I don't think it will myself, but this is the kind of World Series where there's a lot of mystery that's going on here, because you've got the known with Houston, you got the unknown with Atlanta, and we'll mix all this stuff together and see what kind of elixir that we can come up with. And so I'm looking forward to it. And the baseball fan in me is my personal self. I'm sad because the Dodgers are not there. But, you can't get what, it took 38 years or 32 years for them to win. So I guess I can wait another 30 years for that to happen. But
I have a feeling they'll be back, Kevin. Don't
okay.
worry.
So, but, so I'm looking forward to this. And, you talk about, memories and, and involved in family. When I was talking about Kirk Gibson a minute ago, when he hit that home run, my stepdad was a huge Dodger fan. And the first thing I did was I got on the phone. I got to call Ted and call him up. Hey, did you see that?
Mm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's the kind of thing that I'm hoping happens in this World Series. And, you see something and you got to call somebody. So that's where I'm going to end it at. That's what I'm hoping for is you see a moment that you just have to share it with someone else.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. So, Vince, it's always, great to, to have, be a part of what you've got going on. And Graham, it's always great to have you come along and have you, give your expertise over there. So, guys, it was great having you here, and let's just hope for a great World Series.
Enjoy the baseball, gentlemen.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
And we'll catch you on the flip side.
You betcha.